Okay, so tell me about Uber's plans to deliver booze in Canada.
Well, they already do it apparently in the United States, and it's not just booze. They're actually bringing their e-scooters to Canada. So that was one of the fun things we did last week. Is we went from what was it,
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica Pier, and we went all the way to Muscle Beach, and it's a long walk, and so we got those electric e-scooters, and it was interesting to me to see how much competition. I mean, there was Lime, there was Uber. I was on what was the one that I was on?
Bird.
Yes, I was on Bird. So there was those three main ones that were all over that stretch of beach, but then there were a few other smaller ones as well, and you had to link up your accounts. Some of them were had dead batteries, but it was still a really neat way to get around quite fast. And it looks like they want to bring that concept to Canada. One thing I noticed about being in LA last week is that people were taking those scooters right on the street. I mean, at the end, you and I were trying to get to the restaurant before it closed, and we left the beach because there was some geo fences that were slowing us down to a crawl.
Yeah.
And then once we hit the street, both the Uber and the Bird just started flying. And it's fast and it's kind of a great way to get around a city. So I can see it being big news here in Canada. I don't see how well it's going to work with snow and slush.
Yeah,
Um,
ice would be really scary with those.
and it would wreak havoc on the batteries. But anyways, during the summers, it would be a great way to get around any major city, especially if you can take them on regular walking paths. So that's what made me interested to see this. So it looks like Lime has e-scooters already in Waterloo, Ontario. Bird is already looking to jump in. And speaking of jump's another one that we did see that was there.
Nice transition. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're bringing dockless e-bikes in. So let's start a little bit of a debate. We've had debates in the past. Do you feel like these things are littering the streets of Los Angeles, or do you feel like they're actually a benefit? I mean, it was nice to be able to just, oh, there's a couple abandoned scooters and take a picture of the code and then start riding away. Do you feel that they're a hazard because they're junky and they're gross, or do you feel like they're actually useful?
I like them. I think they look good. And if you noticed while we were there, they were always on the move, especially in those popular locations that we were at. Most of them, their batteries were full because people are incentivized to take them home and plug them in because they get paid. And so they're constantly moving, they're constantly being refreshed. I think the problem that you fall into is when the buzz and the popularity falls out, people are just going to leave them by the wayside and not use them, and they will be junky.
Hmm. Yeah, so I like to think of what niche do they fill? Well, they make movement in an urban area quite fast and easy and affordable. Now, we noticed Ubers were the most affordable out of the ones that we used. Birds
Yeah,
be the
fif-
most expensive.
15 cents a minute for Uber.
Yeah, so that was pretty cheap. Um, so anyways, other things that they're doing is they're bringing Uber Booze to Canada, which is alcohol delivery, and apparently it's already in British Columbia, and it's tied to Uber Eats. So here in Canada, we already have Skip the Dishes, but I don't think we yet have Uber Eats other than in British Columbia. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Uh, are you familiar with Uber Eats? Like, could you be an
Uh-huh.
Uber driver as well as an Uber Eats
I
delivery?
don't think so. Honestly, I've done it twice where I've ordered Uber Eats
Yeah.
and it looks like they're specifically for Uber Eats. Now, the positive thing, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think you don't need the latest car to do it.
Right.
Where if you're an Uber driver, your car has to be like 5 years old or something, right?
And a certain amount of insurance, and
Yeah.
there's, yeah.
So my Corolla is a 2010 and it's already too old to use for Uber, but if I was, wanting to do it, I could do Uber Eats because no one's driving with me. So I think there's less restrictions on it.
I'd like to see if, or talk to maybe some of our listeners if they're Uber drivers and to see if their hustle's helping them out. Are they doing it part time? I work with a guy who was out of work for a while and he did skip the dishes.
Oh yeah?
And he said it was really tough, like because it depended on how many orders he had at a time. It depended how close they were together. It depended what region he was in. And he said when he was down by the university, he could make lots of money because it was lots of little tiny jobs. And so he'd go and hit all the little tiny jobs, and then he would get all these little tiny tips, but he could do like 7 or 8 in an hour.
Right.
Whereas when he was in a richer, more
Suburb.
suburban area, he was doing maybe 2 or 3 an hour, and the tips were bigger, but it just wasn't worth his time.
Right. You kind of have to be in a populated city to do it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
fascinating. Anyways, it's all coming to Canada, and I'm looking forward to see how it goes. I like the scooters. I thought they were neat. I'd love to see them in urban areas, especially for getting around downtowns. And you know how Edmonton's built on top of the river valley. Going up that river valley is nasty. So if you could do it on a nice e-scooter or e-bike, I think that would be nice. So
And not dangerous at all, right? Going across that humming bridge on it.
that hummingbird
Ah,
is gone. It's gone. It no longer exists. And
what? I
yeah,
feel
we
like my
got
childhood's being ripped away from me.
yeah, well, it would have too if you were on a scooter and it was icy. I had a buddy who rode his motorbike all year round, even when it was like minus 30 and snowing, and he said, "You go on that bridge, the Humming Bridge." So for our listeners, it was basically just grading. So it was a metropolitan bridge
Uh-huh.
with grading, and so it would sort of jerk you left or right depending on how your tires were grabbing onto that grading, and
Oh
you make that
man.
getting slippery in the winter. And he was like, every time I crossed that bridge I took my life in my hands.
Jeez. It's probably good they got rid of it.